and I'm telling you, I'm drinking out of a Hewlett and Dunn coffee mug, and I've been using those hot patches that I got at the
hot
patches at the Walgreens yesterday, and they work. I tell you, they actually work, and it's when you pull something like that, it's painful. Right?
You got to do Motrin. I told you, you got to.
Yeah, I did
Motrin,
some of that. Too much of that. I think it makes
water.
Makes me
hydrate
greasy.
Yourself.
Yeah, you got to hydrate and you got to stretch because I'm constantly doing exercises. Hey, got a great show in store for you today. Rob Brown in Memphis. It's cold. It's 26 up here right now. Don't know what it is in Ocala. It's probably 75 and sunny.
No. It's cold. Freeze warning. Hard freeze last night.
All right. Well, it is. That's right. This thing came way deep south. Look, we got Jordan Davis Hill on today. We've got great show. Jacques Doucet, WAFB Channel 9 in Baton Rouge. What's going on at LSU? Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline. Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider in Tuscaloosa. Do us a favor. Take a picture with your phone of the QR code on here. And we're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. 8 channels live streaming. And if you miss it, you can watch it later. And we'll share it, and you can share it with your friends, family members, neighbors,
even people you don't like.
That's right. Total strangers or enemies.
Send it to your enemies. That's fine.
That's right.
If you send us enough money, I'll talk shit.
Yeah. We'll talk about your school. But look, you see the Landers 4 and Hewlett and Dunn behind us. Man, great sign made by J.M. Huffman. It's out there yesterday. Thank you, J.M. You are the man. Jordan, this weekend, thank you first off for sharing your time with us. Always love it. Dogs and horns. This is last year you got them twice. And that was my kind of favorite pick of the year when you went to Austin, and just that was a strength versus wannabe matchup. And Georgia was the strength. You beat them in the SEC championship game. And now they're coming in Gunnar Stockton versus Arch Manning. There's a lot of matchups. How do you see this thing playing out?
I think it's going to be a fun one, guys. I think we are in for a fun Saturday night between the hedges. I think the biggest thing for me, I want to see how Georgia runs the football. It's been such a key to this offense and what they've done this year. And they're playing a Texas team that has been really good against the run, second nationally in run defense, only behind Texas Tech. Now, the teams that Texas has played, I think they've only played 2 teams with top 50 rushing offenses, so that is something to consider. But yeah, that's really the area I'm watching, along with Georgia's defensive front. It's a unit that has really struggled to get sacks this year. The defense did a really good job against Mississippi State with 3 sacks, but they're going to have to pressure Arch Manning. They're going to have to get to him. If not, Arch is going to make some plays. I think he's kind of gotten into a groove, at least the last couple games. He's coming off a bye week. He's going to be dangerous coming back. If y'all remember, Georgia worked really, really hard to try to land Arch out of high school. So I think he's going to be a little bit motivated coming to Athens and trying to spoil the day for the Dogs.
Rob, I think you're muted, sir.
Sorry, Gunnar Stockton's going to come out and try to prove, hey, I can play football too. And I think he's a hell of a quarterback. Right now, he's a lot better this season, his numbers and everything. But the defenses for both schools, they're going to play a role in here. Georgia doesn't have a top 25 defense. Of course, look around. Who has a top 5 defense, top 5 offense? This is weird. It's all that I can say. How does Georgia you think they're going to attack Texas? Because that Texas defense is stout.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is sort of what I was just talking about, being able to establish the run and kind of build off of that. And fascinating just to see what they want Gunnar Stockton to do in this game. I think he's been at his most effective when it's not been all on him. They've been able to have a game now. The Mississippi State game was a little bit out of the ordinary. I think they rushed for 300. And that, you don't see that all the time. But being able to rely on that run game to keep drives alive. But I think they're going to let Gunnar loose. I think they want to allow him the opportunity to create some explosive plays. This is still a stout Texas secondary, but you think about who they lost from last year's defense. Those were some big-time defensive backs. So see if they test them early. And I think that this is a game where I really want to see just how Gunnar handles being at home. I think that he's not going to have to deal with the crowd noise that he's been up against in places like Knoxville and Auburn.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, Kirby talked about this on Monday. Gunner's gotten better and better, and I think with that has come more trust to allow him to let loose. Let's see what he does. Let's see if they let him try to take some shots and to try to catch a really good Texas defense. Maybe catch them off guard a little bit early in this one.
Yeah, and you look at the performance on the road at Mississippi State Saturday. Had several Georgia friends went down. A lot of Georgia fans made that trip, and of course they've got fans. They don't all live in Athens. That's what the TV guys always say. What's the trip from Athens to Starkville? There's Georgia fans all over the place, especially when you win like they do. And there's probably a lot in Philadelphia. Just throwing that in because there's 7 or 8 dogs on that team. All right, so you look at Georgia's defense. Pass rushing, edge rushers. That seems to be what everybody in football is desperate to find. How does Arch manage that?
Well, I think the biggest thing to watch on Saturday when it comes to Arch Manning versus the Georgia pass rush is if they can get home, because Arch is just so athletic. He can keep plays alive. And Kirby talked about that on Monday and was talking about, good pass rush, you combine intelligence with violence. And he said that's two things that don't always go together. But you think about a guy like Arch Manning, him being able to escape, him being able to keep plays alive when he's dead to rights with some of the guys that are after him. So that's what I really want to watch when it comes to Arch Manning is Georgia. I think they showed some progress on Saturday, I think, when it comes to getting home. But that Mississippi State offensive line, that might be the weakest group on what is a better Mississippi State team in Jeff Levy's second season. What can they do against Texas? Texas, which, they've had offensive line issues. I think they've kind of settled in and started to protect Arch better. But, I mean, that was a huge reason why Florida beat Texas, their ability to get to Arch and be able to pressure him consistently throughout that game. This, to me, has to be the Texas offensive line's finest hour just because you're on the road at night. This is a pass rush that has been suspect, but, they're going to try to heat Arch Manning up. They're going to try to make him make mistakes. Let's see how he handles it.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Georgia definitely wins this game. But it's the offensive line. Texas had to replace, I think, 4 guys. And in the preseason, while everybody was preparing for helping Arch write his Heisman speech, they didn't talk about that much. Talk about Georgia's offensive line. They did run the ball well at Davis Wade Stadium, Scott Field. You were there. Are your ears still ringing?
You know what? It was super loud to start the game and probably the first probably 7-8 minutes. And then it kind of got quiet and it just kept getting quieter. But no, it was a fun experience. But no, I think this Georgia offensive line, it has come together at the right time. I mean, they were so banged up early in the season. I mean, starting with the Marshall game, they had a couple starters get hurt and they were kind of playing catch up and having other guys get hurt. And right now, I think they're finally at full strength. And one, now they're rolling with the 5 guys they feel the most comfortable with as their starters. But 2, because other guys had no choice but to play, they got some experienced depth behind them. They got a guy like Juan Gaston, who's a true freshman, who right now is not starting, but they feel really good about if he has to go play right tackle behind Ernest Green or if something happens to Monroe Freeling at left tackle. That offensive line, man, they were fantastic on Saturday. Opened up holes for Nate Frazier, who had a career day, protected Gunner well, no sacks allowed. I think this offensive line deserves a lot of credit, and I would shout out Stacy Searles. Stacy got a lot of heat after the 2024 season. The offensive line did not live up to expectations. This unit, man, has far exceeded expectations. They played well. The players deserve a lot of credit, and their offensive line coach does as well.
Well, and it's so hard. Look around the SEC. Who's got an offensive line and which teams are lining up and saying, we're going to run the ball down your throat, stop us if you can, but we're going to run it? Nobody. I mean, where does Georgia rank right now statistically running the ball in the SEC?
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, they've got to be top 2 or top 3. They have done a phenomenal job, and I think they deserve a lot of credit really on both sides of the ball. The thing we heard over and over going back to spring practice, we did not run the ball well enough. We did not stop the run well enough in 2024. We got to get better at both. They've been great in both areas. They've done a great job of letting Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens getting those guys going. They were fantastic. I think Nate Frazier had 181 yards against Mississippi State, a touchdown. did great. And then on the other side, as much as Georgia has struggled to create pressure up front, they really don't have a ton of tackles for loss. They've been fantastic at stopping the run. And over and over again, they've made opponents one-dimensional. They've done a fantastic job. They deserve a lot of credit. The run game was a huge part of the off-season discussion, and one of those things they wanted to correct, and they've done it on both sides of the ball.
And you look at the secondary, KJ Bolden out of Buford, 5-star, and there's a lot of those, probably 18 on Georgia's roster. Talk about that group.
Yeah, I mean, the secondary, I thought they had one of their best games on Saturday against Mississippi State. I'm glad you mentioned KJ Bolden. 10 tackles in that win against Mississippi State. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
And we had a chance to talk to him on Monday, and I asked him how he felt he played. I played decent. Nothing out of the ordinary, just 10 tackles. And I think this secondary, they've come together. They've played a lot better. They've been down a man, and when I say that, it's not one of the starters, but DeMello Jones, a cornerback. He's regularly rotated in. He and Ellis Robinson. DeMello missed the Mississippi State game with an elbow injury, but I think that was really more so precautionary. They didn't need him. They win that game. I think he'll be back for the Texas game. And, this is a secondary. They started the year, everybody thinks about that Tennessee game, giving up explosives, really struggling to stop. But really since then, they've done a fantastic job. They are among the top teams in the SEC in terms of explosive plays allowed. They've done a really good job of hemming teams in, and it'll be a big test on Saturday, as much going downfield as if you've seen recent games for Texas. They've been throwing it at the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage, and letting guys make plays. And I asked KJ Bolden about that, like the challenge of, you got to be ready in case they go deep, but that's just as dangerous. And he talked about fundamentals. He talked about eye discipline, knowing what you're looking at. I want to see if Texas really tries to hit Georgia on some of those, just those little screens, those throws out to the flats, because it's been very productive against other defenses. But I think it's a situation where maybe some of those defenses don't have quite as much talent as the one in Athens.
Well, the swing pass, like maybe behind the line or 2 yards across the line, it's the de facto running game. If you can't run the ball, you do that. Miami started that back in 1983. I remember they had Alonzo Highsmith and Benny Blades, and people, they would throw a 2-yard route and they'd go 70, and it was a 72-yard pass. Now, we could argue all day and all night and on Sundays about, is that really a passing yard? That's that. We need to have a re-stratification. We're going to do that. All right, Jordan, looking at, I still remember I've got Georgia playing Bama in Atlanta. Somehow it's going to happen. But what concerns you right now about this Georgia team? Last year you won the league at 15th in the conference rushing, and this year you're one of the top 2 or 3.
I think the biggest thing to watch, and I would even say specifically Saturday, is just seeing how well this team tackles. There are times where they just miss tackles, and you can't have that against a team like Texas, who, like we were just talking about with the receivers, they're going to take advantage. And I would say that is what I would watch, specifically the secondary, getting those guys to the ground. They don't let a 15-yard completion turn into a 45-yard touchdown. Get guys on the ground, even if you make, even if you give up a catch. That'd be the biggest thing for me. And then other than that, just the defense creating turnovers. It's something they've struggled with to this point in the season. Now, they did create a huge one against Mississippi State. Quintavious Johnson forces a fumble. KJ Bolden, who we just mentioned, he recovers it, gives Georgia the ball, I think, right around the 25. They wind up scoring, and that kind of got the ball rolling toward a 38-0 run for Georgia on their way to a big win. So those are the two things for me. The defense, man, the offense, they've been clicking. I think they are really at a good spot with where they are. I think they feel comfortable. I think they know what they're doing. And, hey, I shouted out Stacey Searles earlier. Got to give credit to Mike Bobo. He called a fantastic game against Mississippi State. He's going to need some similar some tricks up his sleeve if he's going to take care of Texas on Saturday.
Well, and again, he may be the most criticized coordinator in college football. And he just consistently, the one year he wasn't at Georgia was the last year that Mark Richt was the coach at Georgia when he went to Colorado State. And so I think he is way underrated. All right, so give me a score, Texas versus Georgia. Zach Hartman watching. Want one of my new members in our hunting club, is going to the game. Zach, we're going to tell you how you're going to get a ticket, and you will not fail. But give me a score.
I'm going to go Georgia 27-20. I think it's going to be a pretty competitive game. I think it's going to be a situation that just comes down to the wire, which we've seen over and over again for Georgia. But for me, I think this Texas run defense is pretty good, but I think the teams they've played have kind of made the stats a little misleading. Yep. So I think that Georgia's going to be able – it's not going to run for 300 like they just did against Mississippi State, but I think they're going to be productive. And I think you just watch, Rob, if this game is close, third quarter, fourth quarter, they're going to lean on those backs, and they're going to just try to wear out the Texas defense. I think Georgia wins at 27-20. I think it's going to be a super competitive game, a game where – I'm sweating and trying to figure out what's going to be in this story when the game, the clock hits all zeros. But I think Georgia finds a way to win.
Absolutely. All right. Tell them how they can follow you and your great Junkyard Dog podcast. And thank you so much. We'll do it again next week.
Absolutely. Go to dogs247.com, on Twitter at Jordan Davis Hill, on Twitter at dogs247. The Junkyard Dogcast is the name of the podcast. We will do an episode tonight, probably about 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, after the playoff rankings. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about everything else. Wrapping up the Mississippi State win, looking at Texas, and getting ready for a big week. We got Texas on Saturday, but I'll say this too. Friday night, Georgia Tech basketball in Stegman Coliseum. That'll be a fun one as well.
Oh, it will. And then you wait till that Georgia Tech, Georgia football game. That is going to be crazy down on the flag. You're going to go to the varsity and have to get you a cheeseburger, some chili, Heartburn City, man. Take care.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Jacques Doucet, WAFB Channel 9, Baton Rouge, multiple times winner of Louisiana Sportcaster of the Year, hardest working man in the state. Look, here's more stuff. I'm driving home from the Touchdown Club meeting in Memphis last night. Clark Lee came, and there was so dang many people showed up. I didn't know that Vanderbilt fans existed. And it was they auctioned off the football for more money than I've ever seen a football auctioned off for. So Vanderbilt ranks high in that category. But first off, welcome aboard, and just kind of put in perspective what's going on with Brian Kelly, and Frank Wilson did a good job, but who knows what's going to happen.
Well, Rob, there's nothing going on down here, man. It's been real quiet, boring, no stories to talk about, no drama. I'm a big music fan. I'm hearing Don Henley.
Yeah.
Dirty laundry. Bump, bump, bump.
Yep.
So, apparently Brian Kelly has filed suit against LSU, claiming LSU saying that they didn't fire him before yesterday. Now they're going to fire him with cause. And cause is not winning and losing. There's some other things with cause. And so, look, I think it's been apparent since they fired him that LSU did not want to pay the full buyout, and they were going to find ways to not pay the full buyout. And I guess that they had hoped that by now they would have, agreed on the divorce and moved on to their separate lives. But the divorce is playing out in front of our eyes, and it's an ugly one. And, I don't know if LSU has all their ducks in a row to pay Brian Kelly. I mean, they're paying him about monthly at the moment, $884,000 a month.
You think he can make his bills?
I could pay off my mortgage. I could put another $500,000 in the bank. I could probably not work for at least 3 years on 1 month. Anyway, so that's where it is kind of right now, is that this is still lingering, and LSU's trying to part ways with Brian Kelly, and then they're trying to get a new head football coach. Verge Ausberry is the new athletic director, trying to hire this coach, whoever he's going to be. LSU has 3 games remaining in a season that's been lost, a season with high hopes that has been a drag. Even the victories have been a drag. No offense, Brendan, but even the win over Florida was a drag. So it hadn't been fun, and it's ugly, and we keep waiting for the dust to settle and find a new starting point to move forward. But the dust continues. Somebody kicks it up again as soon as it starts to settle.
All right, let's say late night, you, me, Brendan are liquored up at Mike Anderson's, eating some gumbo and some crawfish etouffee. And 5 years ago at 2 a.m, I say, In November of 2025, Indiana's going to be in the top 5 in the playoffs. Vanderbilt's going to be in the contention for the playoffs. And they're going to bench Garrett Nussmeier and DJ Lagway on the same night as they lose to Kentucky and Alabama. I mean, every day it's something different. And if you can't adjust and adapt to what's going on, it'll make you go crazy.
Yeah. And, I wonder, like Kim Mulkey, for example, she's been able to go along with all these changes and stay relevant and win a national title.
Yep.
She's smart enough to not come out and say, this transfer portal and all, some of this stuff is just out of hand. But,
yeah,
deep down, she's old school and wants to go back to the way things used to be to an extent. I don't want to speak for her or whatever, but, there's a lot of coaches that feel that way. They just can't say it out loud. But it's just you gotta change, but then at the same time, it's like LSU put $20 million into this roster. Apparently, it's like you take your wife to dinner or your girlfriend or whatever. Hey, let's try this fancy steak restaurant, and you get 2 steaks and a bottle of wine, and you spend $500 and it wasn't worth the damn. You're not going to go back. So
yeah,
I wonder if it's got to be the same. Going back to these donors again. Hey, we need to fund next year's roster. How's that going to go? And buying out this coach, paying for the next coach. I think any coach out there knows the potential of the LSU job. I mean, somebody on the inside the other day told me, man, this thing is a sleeping giant. And has any program in the country roared more and then gone back to sleep for years than LSU? I mean, we see the potential as perhaps the greatest team of all time in 2019. And then years like this year, just mediocrity. So who's going to tap into this and get it back to where it needs to be?
Well, my experience as a financial advisor, I can tell you this. You keep losing your clients' money, you can't go back to them. They won't take your calls. And the NIL people, and you and I and Brendan, we talk to them. I've got friends that have done it, and they're going, I'm done. I mean, this is ridiculous. I gave money to a kid, and he quit playing in the 9th game of the season. He said, I'm shutting it down. Which begs me to ask you this question. What is Harold Perkins Jr.'s status with the Raising Cane deal that he has?
His status with Raising Canes?
Yeah. Is he still working? Is he still – I know he's got a deal with them.
Yeah. Well, he's on a billboard with Nussmeier and Whit Weeks. I think Whit Weeks hasn't played in I don't know how many games now, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Nussmeier just obviously has not had the year that any of us expected or hoped for. Perkins did make a sack fumble the other night against Alabama. He did make a big play in the game, but I don't think overall he's had the year he's had. But yeah, Nussmeier is on billboards all across town. Gordon McKernan, he's on radio ads. It's one of those things too. I mean, the businesses that invest, they can't be happy either, or where, these ads are running and the team's not living up to expectations. And it's been, just hasn't been a whole lot of fun. I mean, and it used to be, you had 2 teams that were in a national championship and everybody else kind of angled for a bowl game. And hey, what's the best bowl game we can get? That discussion seems to be over. LSU needs one more victory to become bowl eligible. They should get it against Western Kentucky in a couple of weeks if they don't beat Arkansas this weekend. But then you got a regular season finale at Oklahoma. So there was a scout in Tuscaloosa. I was there for the game this past week in LSU, Alabama. Nick Saban walked right past us in the press box wearing crimson. A few LSU fans want me to grab him and say, "Hey, come back to Baton Rouge. 3 years. Just coach one more time." So, but yeah, there was a Jacksonville, the Gator Bowl. They were there. So LSU hadn't played in the Gator Bowl since '87, I think. But
Mike Archer was the coach then, or was that Orange?
Yeah, that was the first year I ever went to games, and LSU went 10-1-1. And my parents warned me that it wasn't always that good. And sure enough, not long after that, Archer started going downhill. Curly Hallman coached 4 years and 6 straight losing seasons. Yeah,
and here's the question you got to ask about the bowl game. Are you going to have 40 guys show up if you go 6-6? I mean, that's where the free market. Guys and gals I talk to that have money and that are spending it. And it's not the people you think that are spending it. I know some that have it and they're giving $23 a month to the Grove Collective. They're going, I had to work for everything I got. When I was 18 years old, I didn't have. It's all relative, but I think this stuff is on the verge of blowing up, and it's going to change because the free market will force it to change. And the players can whine all they want, but they're not going to keep getting these kinds of piles of cash to underwhelm their fans.
Jock, I wanted to talk about Brian Kelly's deal here because I was reading about it this morning. I was sort of fascinated with the whole thing, and I don't know if I understand it as well as obviously that you do. But so Brian Kelly's suing, right, saying they don't have cause, or is that correct? To not for the negotiation of the buyout from the AD that is no longer there. He's fired, right? So now they're saying that it wasn't a negotiation that was properly put together. Can you explain exactly what this lawsuit's about?
Well, I think it has to do with too. If you fire somebody with cause, you have to do that immediately. But Brennan, we're letting you go for cause. Well,
right.
Apparently that's not what they told Brian Kelly on Sunday after we're letting you go because you're not winning enough games and the team's bad. Well, apparently yesterday, Brian Kelly claims that LSU says, okay, we're firing you for cause now.
Right.
Which, cause in your contract has to do with off the field, NCAA morality. I mean, Matt Moscona this morning kind of detailed it. And look, I try to go to mass every Sunday and be a good Catholic, but
Yes.
there's some Coach Kelly and his wife. I mean, they had filed for divorce. I think his first year, and then took it back. The Greg Brooks thing. As well, really awful situation. Greg Brooks surgery, the brain surgery, and how that was handled. That's a real ugly thing, and there's something else floating out there. So, I mean, if I would guess, LSU has probably told him, "Hey, look, take this lump of cash." I mean, Coach Kelly has rejected a $25 million lump cash payment and a $30 million lump cash payment. He's owed 53. I'd imagine LSU said, look, take this. We won't get into all this personal stuff. And then maybe he rejected it and said, get into the personal stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
that's what I'm hearing. I mean, I was thinking, I was driving home last night from the Touchdown Club meeting. I was hearing that he was offered 50. I mean, 53 is what he wants. But he was offered 20, and they came into 30, and then he still doesn't want. He wants 53, and I think from Frank Duffy knows a lot about this on our Goal to Go podcast he does on this channel on Fridays, and it's going to be I don't say it's fun, but it's going to be interesting to watch. But Osbury's still the AD.
Yeah, and that was a thing last week where the new president, Wade Roos, who I met on the field before the LSU Alabama game, came up to me, told me hello, shook my hand, really nice guy. I talked to him for just very briefly, but initially there was some confusion about him removing the interim tag, but yet Verge was still not the permanent AD, and so he's now moving forward as the permanent AD. Saw him yesterday. The LSU soccer team got into the NCAA tournament, had a little viewing party, and he was there for that. And so yeah, he's that's quite a deal to go from being he's part of the big circle at LSU, but all of a sudden he's up front as the AD, and oh, by the way, you're going to hire a football coach. I mean, that's a tough one. That's a huge jump in a short period of time.
Yeah. I pulled up the the whole thing, which is just real quick for people who don't know. It's just that phone call November 10th, representative from LSU, Kelly's attorney, that was never quote formally terminated in October as Woodward lacked the authority to do so or negotiate settlements. LSU is now asserting grounds for cause termination to potentially void the buyout. Marketing the first time such claims were raised. And then we talked about 25-30 million he's rejected. For those who want to know what cause is, there's no specification on this, but cause does cover potential claims involving NCAA violations, criminal issues, or serious misconduct, consulting and moral turpitude. Kelly's firing asserts that he never engaged in such contact, and LSU has failed to notify him with the required 7-day window under his contract. So there you go.
Is that what Jacques Doucet, the shenanigans clause? Is that what that is? Tomfoolery. I don't know. I mean, God, how do you know that you want to get this thing
I
resolved?
guess it just, you want to resolve it. How does this affect the coaching search? That was my
It
whole
doesn't help
point.
it. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no way it helps it. There's, I mean, I guess, so obviously any coach who takes that job believes they've got an ego. All these guys have, I'm going to win. I'm going to do big things. But you also have to back your mind and say, well, if I don't, are they going to pay me what I'm owed in the contract? And the 10-year contract was a bad contract. I think we all know that. But I mean, a lot of us get angry at Jimmy Sexton and the way he's changed things, and just these agents, how they've changed things. But there's nothing we can do about it, and they're doing their jobs, I guess. But 10-year. I mean, it'd been much, a 5-year deal. I mean, what did Napier get at Florida when he became the coach?
56
But
for
the length
the
of the
year.
deal.
The length
How
of
long
the
was
deal.
his?
I thought it was 6 years, but I could be wrong. I'll look it up just
Yeah.
to get it right. But I think it was 6 years. But
Yeah. Giving a 60-year-old man a 10-year deal, how much is he motivated to win? How hard is he going to work? And in Brian Kelly's case, just all indications were he just was not a grinder and just did not understand the LSU opportunity if he would have worked harder. So.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. It's crazy. I feel like LSU would like if they could find a way to get a Dabo or something, would be such a huge. It would be sort of an LSU hire to me, just somebody of that stature. I think he would be great for that program. I don't know. What do you think about that, Doc?
Yeah, I guess the LSU fan would question. I mean, Dabo's got an amazing record and resume. Would they question, is he up with the times and up with the NIL and the transfer portal and all that? I don't know. Another guy that's out there that's a free agent that has strong LSU ties, although I don't think they could sell it to the fan base. If it was 10 years ago, they'd be excited, is Jimbo Fisher, offensive coordinator for LSU in those 2003 national championship team and whatnot. I don't think fans would be fired up about that, but it is at least something that's out there. It'd be interesting. Jimbo could come back. He could bring Muschamp back. He could get Derek Dooley to wear some purple pants. We could get the band back together.
Well, who, by the way, before you go, who are a couple of names that you're hearing, maybe not who you want, but who you want does matter because LSU football better than Ezra?
Well, I mean, everybody, it's so funny, look back who the big fishes were and they can't. I mean, Tom Herman, he's not even coaching right now, I don't think.
No.
He was fired from Florida Atlantic last year after 2 seasons. And in 2016, when Ed Ogeron ended up getting the job, Tom Herman, he's a can't miss genius, Now, obviously, Lane Kiffin is the big fish, and he's a lot more proven right now. And so I think everybody wants Lane Kiffin, right? I mean, you got 3 big jobs open, LSU, Florida, Auburn, and then I guess Arkansas is a second behind the second tier. I don't call Arkansas a second tier, but so Kiffin's the one that, okay, if we could get him, that'd be amazing. A guy that I've heard, if he got the LSU opportunity, he would kill it, is Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri.
Yeah.
That what he's done at Missouri, that is not a winning program. It's cold. They don't have any talent in the state. And look, his percentage against top 25 teams is not good. But if he was given the LSU opportunity, as somebody described it to me, he'd be like maybe the Jay Johnson of college football. He is obsessed with the roster. And the people that give money to the program, they believe they're going to get a return on their investment because of this guy. So I think he's interesting to watch in this thing. Some are all at Tulane. I don't know if LSU can sell to the fan base if we're hiring a coach from Tulane, but he's going to get a big job. A lot of people feel like he's Billy Napier 2.0. I don't know if that's fair or not, but he's a guy that's coaching in state who's having a lot of success, who's about to get the big SEC job. Besides that, I mean, the guy at Georgia Tech went to Georgia Tech. The guy at Arizona State went to Arizona State. I don't think Marcus Freeman, after Brian Kelly was, the villain for leaving, and Marcus Freeman steps in and, hey, I'm your guy. I don't know if Marcus Freeman could leave Notre Dame to go to LSU, and I don't know if LSU can sell, hey, we hired the coach from Notre Dame 2 times in a row. So, But as I've learned, it comes out of left field. Brian Kelly, we didn't talk about him at all when he got hired. And Jay Johnson, we didn't talk about him at all. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's crazy. Jacques, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Let them know how they can follow you. You're one of the most active people on X, Twitter, Twix, whatever you call it. You put out, you've got a nonstop stay. Hey, you may be a YouTuber and being denied your right to watch college football, but you can go to Twitter and keep up with it with Jacques Doucet.
Yeah, I'm still one of those idiots paying Cox every month. I need to stop that. But anyway, my name there. Look me up on X or Facebook. Our website, wafb.com. So thanks a lot for having me today.
Always, man. We'll do it again next week. Go Tigers. All right. Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline. Catch it Monday nights, 6:00 p.m. on Sports 56 WHBQ and all over Super Talk Mississippi, which means it really goes all over the South. Got a great crew. They keep up with Ole Miss. Chuck Rounsville, Harry Harrison, Gary Darby, Gordon Ford, the whole crew, and then they go to the library afterwards and celebrate. Yancy, how are you? Yancy.
Sorry about that. I'm doing great. How about y'all?
Were you in the library?
No, I'm a little too old for that place now.
I know. That was the big.
We graduated to the place we go to is called Lenore's. It's where the 50 and older crowd go to.
Yeah, and the Proud Larry's. There's all those places. I will say one thing. If you ain't ever been to Oxford, you got to go. It is one of the greatest college towns in America. And you got one of the hot coaches in America, Lane Kiffin. Everybody's talking about him. Let people know. I know you're going to be on tonight on this channel on the Lowdown with Lauren Meadows at 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. You're going to be on about 10 after with Lauren, and I get to be on there with you. We're going to talk about the Florida Ole Miss game, but kind of tell us what's happening there in Oxford, and the world's ready to hear it.
Yeah, man. Everybody's kind of circled this game before the season even started, right? Mm-hmm. I think from a coach's perspective, they circled it because of, Florida knocked Ole Miss out of the playoffs last year. And then obviously the fan base now, they've kind of circled it because quite honestly, they're just sick of hearing the Florida fans just with the whole Lane Kiffin deal. It's kind of got a little obnoxious for them the last, 45 days or so. And they want blood. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a nasty, nasty environment Saturday night at the Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, he got a coach people want, and Florida wants him, and a lot of other people do. But man, he is a social media savant, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's a troll. He's not a savant. He's a troll. He knows he's a troll. Yeah. He knows he loves it.
He loves it.
He is a troll. I think from an Ole Miss fan perspective, I don't think nobody else has gotten under their skin outside of the Florida fan base, and they've really gotten underneath their skin. And there's
Florida fan base is ugly. We'll come after you now.
It's massive,
and
we're hungry. Oh, we're hungry and ugly.
Yeah,
so I know it. They kind of got underneath the Ole Miss fan base skin, and they want a good old butt whipping Saturday night. I'm not gonna lie.
That's a trap game.
It is going to be. It's going to be it is going to be a battle. I mean, God, it's going to be a hell of a game.
Look, I expect Florida to play well. I know everybody expects Florida to lay down like they did against Kentucky, but I really expect them to come out and play a spirited game. I don't think Florida's going to win, but I think Florida's going to play much better than they did against Kentucky.
Yance, you look at this Ole Miss roster. The narrative going into the season was Ole Miss would win, 7 or 8 games. It's just not that way anymore. People have got to quit looking out of the rearview mirror when they look at Ole Miss. How many new players did Kiffin bring in this year? High school, portal combined?
Well, you have 2 starters that returned on defense and 2 on offense. So it was basically a new roster. I think there were 60 total players that were brought in. It's not all of those are scholarship guys, right? Yeah. You get 105 players, but I would say 65% of the roster was brand new.
All right, you look at Silverfield at Memphis, 70 new players. Kiffin, yeah. I mean, these are the kind of coaches that you got to have going forward because it's like a high school coach. You got to replace 25 or 30% of your roster every year, and That's just a part of it. That's where we've gotten to, I think.
That's why he's so coveted, right? I mean, other schools know that he can jump in there from year one and compete, right? Because
Yeah.
he's doing it year to year with total different. I mean, you got 4 out of the 22 starters returned this year. I mean, it's a brand new roster basically, and it's a different era. You don't have to wait 3 and 4 years to rebuild and to develop talent like you
Yeah.
did in the pre NIL portal era. It's a whole new era, and Lane has proven that in year one he can make you compete for championships.
Rob, I think you're muted. There
The
you go.
Florida fan base is massive. I mean, Brendan says like six and a
Right
half
now,
million,
you keep quoting me on that. That was like a year ago.
or half a million,
We got
half
to
a,
see what that actually number is.
okay, but half a million living alumni. I mean, there's a lot. But getting back to Ole Miss,
Hmm.
again, you had two people. I was talking to a coach who used to be y'all's recruiting coordinator last night on the way back after listening to Clark Lee, and damn, that was a lot of fun. He's really good. He's as laid back a coach as I've ever heard, but you can see that he's got that intense side to him. But just looking at the doctors or a couple of guys for the Grove Collective or the Loyalty Foundation, do us a
Yeah,
favor. Kind of differentiate between. I've always known about the Loyalty Foundation, and I think about Warner Alford, the old athletic director, standing out in the Grove in a pair of khakis, a starched white button down, and a red blazer, some blue socks, and some white bucks, going, "How's everybody doing today?" Why, I say, "Yes, sir, yes, sir." And then you got the Grove Collective, which is a populist movement on steroids of Ole Miss people, and I know a lot of them. And these people are throwing money at Ole Miss, and I say it, they're like, "What do you need?" You got 30 million 2 weeks ago. You told me about this. Always give credit to
yeah.
the stores from two people, and they ain't the only two people that like Ole Miss that have money.
Yeah, well, the Grove Collective is the NIL collective. It,
Yeah,
it it is there directly to raise money for players, and then the Loyalty Foundation is led by the school that is there for the facilities. So that's the two differential to differentiate the two collectives or loyalty to the collective. As far as the money, yeah, I mean, there's Lane Kiffin is basically next to Jesus, the most second popular person in the state of Mississippi. They're gonna do whatever it takes from a financial standpoint. And yes, one guy wrote him a check for 20 million. One guy wrote him a check for 10 million. Said whatever you do, keep Lane Kiffin. That happened a couple weeks ago, and they're raising a ton of money on the side outside of that. Ole Miss spent about 23 million on its roster in 2025, and they're trying to get that to the 35 million consistently
good
to
God.
be top three. I think they were top five this year as far as what they spent on the roster, and they want to get that top three consistently. So they don't want anything to do that for somebody that could have more money for their NIL salaries. And that's never going to be a problem for any university. We'll be able to match whatever anybody else pays. But that's really what the coaches are looking at now is how much do I have in my war chest for my roster. So I think from a financial terms, there will be nobody that can outdo what Ole Miss is doing right now. I think really the biggest concern from Ole Miss camp, there's been a lot of Florida talk, but the insiders really have not been worried about Florida, to be honest about it. They've been worried about the NFL. And as we know, the Giants just opened their coaching position yesterday, and that was kind of a woof because there's nobody closer in this world outside of his immediate family than Lane is than Jackson Dart. Those two are almost inseparable. So there's probably some uneasiness about that. Everybody's keeping an eye on the Miami job if that became open there with the Dolphins. So we'll see. As with Lane, he kind of took that Nick Saban policy because Nick got burned when he commented about the Miami job when said that he wasn't going to take the Alabama job, and then he ended up taking the Alabama job before the end of the Miami Dolphins season. And then, they just for the next 10 years, the media hammered him about that. I don't know if you remember that about the first 10 years at Bama. There was really serious rumors that he was going to go to this organization or Texas or the
Yeah.
Browns and they didn't believe Nick because Nick's commented on that job about Alabama before the end of the Miami season. And so he told Lane, don't ever make that mistake. You know, that's one thing that I learned that you need to make sure you learn is don't ever comment on another job or do contract negotiations or anything until after the season, because if something does change
Yeah.
and then your name is mud. And so
Yeah.
Lane has kept that policy and he's not going to break it no matter how, antsy the Ole Miss fans want him to come out and say, I'm staying here, or I'm, sign the renewals contract or whatever. And by the way, he's only in the first year of an 8-year, $72 million deal. So it's not like his contract is running out in a couple months. He's 5 months into an 8-year, $72 million deal right now. So Lane doesn't need to comment on it until the season's over, no matter how badly the Ole Miss fans want him to go ahead and say, I'm staying for next season. And I get it from an Ole Miss standpoint, but I also get it from a Nick Saban standpoint. And there's nobody that's been more influential on Lane than Nick Saban. So that's kind of the story about why he will not. It's not only from a leverage standpoint that a lot of people kind of take it from Jimmy Sexton. It's also from a Nick Saban policy standpoint that he's taken after him because Nick got burned commenting on that during the season.
Yeah. Blind Squirrel Sports. Love this guy from Buena Vista, Georgia. Should Ole Miss fans be concerned that Lane Kiffin did not say no to the possibility of coaching at the University of Florida in his most recent press conference? I didn't see that, but I mean, golly,
Again, if you comment on one school and then the
yeah,
next week it'll be LSU and
yeah,
then Florida State
great,
and then the Giants and the Dolphins, and it just never ends, right? So
yeah,
you have to have a hardcore line and not comment at all, which he never has in
yeah,
6 years. This
yeah,
isn't the first year that Ole Miss has gone through this. So this is standard policy that he does. If you break it one time, then 2 years down the road, what is somebody gonna say? Well, you made that exception one time, right? And then it grows legs that he won't comment on another job opportunity, a couple years down the road. So you have to have a hardcore approach about it, and he's never going to budge from it.
okay,
He's just not.
yeah. Well, it is, and like I want to say something too. God bless our troops. It is Veterans Day, and man, none of us don't know somebody in our family, friends that fought and have served in the military, whether National Guard, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. And I'll say a special salute to my brother-in-law, Gunnery Sergeant Kurt Ham, 26 years in the Marine Corps, 7 combat deployments. Never has asked for anything, but he said, I got a lot of free stuff from the federal government, but I paid for it later. But we have the best people in the world in our military. And by the way, Monday nights at the Touchdown Club meetings at the Hilton in East Memphis, that's where all the recruits from Memphis, Arkansas, and Eastern Oklahoma meet. They spend the night in a luxury hotel, then they ship out to start basic training, which I can assure you this is not in a luxury hotel, but God bless our troops. And we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Question for you, Yancy. 3 years ago, you pointed out you were way ahead of the curve. Ole Miss had a $350 million project to renovate Vaught Hemingway Stadium. They put that on hold, and they said, let's put that into NIL.
For Lane. Lane wanted
Yeah.
that to be put on hold.
Yeah.
So they
Question I
still got
have
the
for you.
funds and it's sitting there, but Lane doesn't want to spend money on a renovation on the stadium because he wants to make sure that money goes to the NIL.
Yeah, and I'm just curious because selling a lot of bonds, was that a public finance deal of $350 million where they were going to
That's
sell
just
the
money that
tax-free?
was raised. That was
Wow,
money that was raised.
$350 million was raised.
That's right. That was over the $1 billion campaign that was raised for academics and $500 million for the athletics. I think it was came out at 1.62 billion. That was totally raised there and then. So they've got that money on the side. Lane didn't want to spend the money on a renovation or addition to the stadium. He wants money going to the NIL. So that's another thing that's been talked about is, they need to do something in the stadium and all this, but Lane doesn't want to do anything to it. He says it doesn't matter to recruits. It doesn't matter to players, that what they get paid and winning is what matters. So
Yeah.
that's, it's Lane's program.
Well, that's great that you pointed. I knew they had the $1 billion campaign, $500 million for athletics, and that $350 million. I was curious if that was a bond deal because that's debt financing, and you trust me. If I called up an Ole Miss grad and said, "Hey, I've got a $10 million block of 5%, munis at 20-year maturity with 7 years call protection," I'll take them. I mean, that's how that works. So, looking at Ole Miss is the future with Lane Kiffin and this staff that he's got, Pete Golding. He took a lot of grief, at Alabama, but you don't survive 4 years on Nick Saban's staff if you're not good. Talk about the job he's doing. Only had 2 starters come back, 8 guys drafted, the most ever for Ole Miss. Well, Yancy, once, twice, we lost him. Hopefully he'll come back here. But Yancy, let's talk about that. Eight players drafted off Ole Miss last year, the most in school history. Dart to the Giants. And by the way, if you know your history, Charlie Connolly and the Eli Manning, the relationship with Ole Miss and the New York Giants is a long and storied relationship. And that's a big deal. There's a big connection with Ole Miss and New York City in the public finance and the securities business. Follow the money trail. Ole Miss's accounting school is ranked 3rd in the country. There's a ton of money among their graduates, and nobody's talking about that because they think Mississippi is a small state. There's a lot of money among their graduates.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that people, do get a concern about the Giants opening. And, the New York Post has already put Lane Kiffin as their number 1 target. So, with that relationship, that unique relationship that Ole Miss and the Giants have had for a number of years, that it goes all the way back from the Charlie Connolly days when he was the first Marlboro man. So, I mean, we're talking about a long time ago, right?
Damn
So,
right.
it is a long relationship, and for Pete Golding, he's a great recruiter, obviously, but he's really innovative. He came out with that 3 down line, 8 drop 8 zone. He's just a unique guy, and he's doing an outstanding job. If I would have told you after that Georgia game, after Arkansas ran up and down Ole Miss as well, that Ole Miss would be in the top 30 in defense and total defense, rushing defense, passing defense, 3rd down defense, red zone defense, and scoring defense, you would have probably thought I've been smoking too much. So
Too
what
many
he's
gummies.
done, yeah, too many gummies. But he's, that front 4, the defensive line, were guys that were all in their first year as starters. They sat behind the guys that were experienced last year. And so they needed some reps. And then they inserted another linebacker at the weak side linebacker, outside linebacker there, and Andrew Jones. He started starting. And then 2 guys, 2 defensive backs that were heavily paid this year by the collective were in that Memphis shooting. And they were, they got shot, and it took them a while to recover. And they finally recovered, and they've been inserted to the lineup. And Ole Miss is much more athletic and faster now in the secondary. So it was kind of each unit kind of got a lot better through the season, and it's a total different defense than it was against Georgia. I'll say that.
Yeah, and Brendan and I get a chance to talk to a lot of really smart football people, and you're certainly one of them. And hopefully Rodney Orr, I guess he had some problems this morning. He got his new phone last week, and he was doing great. But we'll get him back on next week. We got tonight. The CFP rankings are going to come out. Do you really care as long as Ole Miss is in there in the top 12?
No, I mean, I don't care personally, regardless. But from an Ole Miss perspective, I think some are bracing maybe not Indiana, excuse me, but Texas Tech could jump them with that victory over BYU. And they dropped to 7, 6. But, it's just from an Ole Miss perspective, they want to make sure they close the deal last year like they did not this year, unlike they did last year when Florida beat them there. And so they want to focus on Florida and keep it 1 game at a time.
All right. We got a couple of minutes before we got to go. Let's say Brendan, Lauren, Gator fans are driving up to Oxford, from all over. They're Gator fans all over. They're coming to Oxford. Where do they go? Where's the best places for them to eat? I know, but maybe just some new places. The Beacon's closed, by the way.
Tell them to call me. I'll show them around for sure. I'll show everybody a good time. I always do. But no, seriously. I would add for lunch, I would go to Proud Larry's or Tallahatchie, the place that I took you,
Yep.
Rob. And then for dinner, I'd go to I'd go to Lenore's one night. I don't know how many nights they're going to be here. If they're going to be here 3 or 4, I'd go to Lenore's and then maybe Jinsei. Jinsei is a really trendy kind of sushi place. So it's
Where
a
would you
really
take a single
cool
old guy
environment.
like? Where'd you take a single old guy like me?
Lenore's. Lenore's.
Okay,
Get
good.
out of
That's
here.
where I gotta
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Brendan's
They got
a
it.
kid.
The
You can
kid.
sit there at the bar and have some drinks with the other old guys like me and
Perfect.
socialize and talk football and look at beautiful women.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
And sit up on the
American way. There's nothing
yes,
wrong with it.
sit up on the balcony. Sit up on the balcony at Square Books and read a great book and just look around you.
Rob, you can go do
Square.
that.
Hey,
That's fine. I'm going to
he's-
go with Yancy. You go read your book.
I'll take Audrey down
to
there
read
with-
books.
No, I ain't reading books.
Yeah. He's reading tea leaves.
I'm reading books and she's reading books.
That's right. Hey, you know what we got
And
to
then I'm
do?
pulling it up on ChatGPT and say, summarize this book and make me sound smart.
Hey, you left off Yancy, you left off one thing. You get left off one thing that everybody's got to experience when they go to Oxford, and that is going to the Chevron station at 3 a.m, all liquored up in the line that goes out into the street and getting chicken on a stick. You can't beat that.
Yeah, you better. You know, once you get around 50, you start getting heartburn from that stuff.
Yeah,
So
I don't think I can do chicken on a stick
Chicken
anymore, Rob. I don't care where I am.
And my kids always loved this growing up, the candy shop.
Uh.
But anyway, Yancy, I absolutely enjoy. Thank you more than you know for sharing your time with us. You're one of the best people out there. Rebels and Gators, we're going to have you on tonight on the Lowdown with Lauren Meadows on this channel. So we'll see you at 10 after.
yeah, I'd love to.
And we'll get the
We'll have
link
a great
to you
time.
tonight. Yeah, we're gonna have a blast. But have a great day until then.
You too.
All right,
Take
thank
care.
you. All right, let's say this. Landers Ford people, golly, I'm gonna tell you, I was at the Touchdown Club last night with Clark Lee speaking, and I tell you, I love those people out there. Brad Bellamy, the general manager, Don Kitchens, the owner. The auction for the football was unbelievable for Clark Lee. Landers Ford, they've got a huge inventory. Poplar and Houston Levy, where Germantown and Collierville come together. Open every day of the week except Sunday, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Service department, pick you up at home or your office, bring you in, take you home. They'll do a great job fixing your vehicle. They've got the Broncos, the top. I'm going to tell you something. The top of the line Broncos and the F-150s, okay? They've got the King Ranches. I drive an F-150. I love it. Drives like a car on the road, drives like a truck off-road. I don't get stuck. Ask anyone that hunts with me. I don't get stuck in this gumbo mud. And they've got Black Friday savings, 2025 Ford Escape, $8,810 off MSRP. This is just the beginning. Look at that Robin Egg Blue Bronco with the red lettering. That's what all the ladies want. My wife says, I want one of those because you won't drive it off-road. I'm like, well, yeah, not a woman's car, no. But they've got great selection. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. Take the stress out of it. It ain't the doing in life that's so bad, it's the dreading. Just call Brad Bellamy, the GM at Landers Ford. And Hewlett and Dunn, wow. They got a shipment in there yesterday. I was out there to see everybody. The Barber collection for the men and the women, it's unbelievable. They've got the best looking coats and jackets and gloves and hats and luggage and bags for men and women, the scarves. They've got it all. They got over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots in inventory. And they've got Filson and the ladies Filson collection. They're still waiting on some stuff to come in. It's coming in daily. All right, STS, Schaefer, Pendleton, the Duckhead wax canvas jackets. You never seen anything. I didn't know Duckhead made stuff that looked this cool. And again, the Filson hunting jackets, Duck Camp. They've got Duckhead pants. You got to get out there. The Devil Dog jeans. They're open every day of the week except Sunday. But now Black Friday, Thanksgiving weekend, they'll start opening on Sundays through Christmas, 10 a.m., 6 p.m. on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Look, Rumble Boxing, how you fight is how you live. Union and McLean, Midtown Memphis. Get in there, get in the best shape of your life. Open every day of the week around 5 in the morning, 5:30. Get them started now. And Lights Out Gummies, Pro Athletes Hemp Association, 25% off. Use promo code Sidelines. Those energy gummies, they keep you from being hungry all day. They work. You ought to get some of them. Remember, most often we see the face of Christ, the least among us. Find ways to go out and help people. For executive producer Brendan Martin, Rob Brown, we'll see you tonight on this channel. Thanks for watching.
Hey, happy Veterans Day out there, everybody.
Happy Veterans Day to everybody.
See y'all
I am
tonight.
around. You bet.